Shirorine twalalanda kufunda bantu balekyo kupatana lyashishirorine twalalanda kufunda bantu balekyo kupatana mumayanda pamachitone mitundo yonse palamute mwana mumayanda pamachitone mitundo yonse alamute mwane muechipotene sasa alamute mwane muechipotene sasa. Good evening, Zambia. Good evening, UK. Good morning, good afternoon, Canada, depending where you are watching us this evening. This is a special edition of Thursday Night Motivation with Frank. And I hope we are all doing very well and in everything that we're doing. And I'd just like to start off by saying thank you for all the support that you offer TV Bakwetu. This is all about the people of Zambia. This is your shows. These are your shows, and it's all about informing the people of Zambia. So for some of you who know, Thursday night I come on and it's all about motivation. And I've really been thinking long and hard. What can I give the people back home today? What can I give of me today? What sort of area can I be of service today? And I think over the last few months we've seen stories of a lot of young people committing suicide. And we try to think, we come up with theories. Okay, we come up with theories. People say different things. People will say, I think a lot of times people will say things like, it's not the end of the world. You don't have to commit suicide. And I always think that's the wrong advice we keep our young people. Yes, we know it's not the answer to whatever problem we're facing. But for them at that point, they think that is the only answer that they have. And the only way that we can avoid that is by actually giving them an actual answer. We can't keep saying there's different answers. What are those answers? And these, because we need to address mental health issues. We need to address mental health issues. And I think about it in a lot of ways. Living in the UK, they treat mental health issues like they will treat you when you go to the hospital with malaria. I'm not kidding you. You're going to be medicated. You're going to be given the right support you need. They regard it as an illness that needs to be treated, and it is treated. And I have seen people suffer mental meltdowns and they recover, and they've had their own businesses, they've written their own books, they've done so many great things. But when it comes when it comes to a society, there's still a taboo that is associated with mental health issues. And that's why we never talk about them. But it's time we change the narrative. It's time we started having those discussions about mental health issues. It's time we started having real discussions. What is going on? How can we change it? Because the world is changing so much, and we have got to start moving on with time. We've got to start moving on with time. I'm going to look at a few solutions. But I'm going to look at a few things first that are affecting young people's mental health today. The first thing that I'm looking at this evening is what we're on today. We are all connected to this today. Social media. We're living in the world where people cannot have a mental shutdown from the world. Wherever they go, they carry the world with them. They carry the world with them. Remember when we were growing up, we go and play football, we play chidunu. When we go home, we didn't take our friends in the house with us. We didn't see our friends until we were going to school tomorrow morning. We didn't see our friends until we were playing football tomorrow morning. It just simply never happened. But now with social media, what happens is we take everyone wherever we go. We take the world wherever we go. We take the world into our homes. We take the world into our relationships. We never leave the world behind. So that means we never have that mental relief, that mental release away from the world, away from what is going on. We keep carrying on that one. I don't know about you. Sometimes you just be doing things and you go, let's see what's going on social media. You'll have a busy day at work and people will go, let me just have a day let me just see what's going on. Everybody wants to know what's going on. They don't even know what's going on. They haven't got any reason to have it. They don't even have anything that's really going on, but they just want to know what is going on. So, for me, what is important to understand is this. We need to have that break away from the world, because that world creates a mental space. As a life coach, one thing that I've seen is so many people who just do not have a space for anything. They carry the world with everything that they do. So they carry everything they do wherever they go. And because they never create that mental space, they become overwhelmed with everything that's going on. I remember a few years ago, I was working in an office where the news, the radio was constantly on, and I could hear the news every single time. And I thought I was getting so anxious because I was not having a moment to just focus on what I was doing. I was having to focus on different things that we're going to do. So these are the things that we have to look at when it comes to our mental health. Do we go for walks without our phones? Do we go for a walk? Just think about the world we live in. Just think about the things that we got to do. Just think about what we need to do. So these are the things that we think about, that we need to think about. The second element that we have to think about is keeping up with the Joneses. This is very important. Now, you don't need to have a degree in psychology to work out that this is very dangerous. Okay, we're living in a world where, especially with social media, we see what everybody supposedly has. So we see what people are achieving, we see where people go, we see where people travel. So in that moment, we then get into this mood of keeping up with the Joneses. So we're trying to compare ourselves with everyone, what everybody is doing. We're trying to think, oh, that person is doing that better than me, that person is doing that or the other better. And when we're living in this constant mood of competition with others, we're never going to be happy, we're never going to be satisfied, and we're always going to feel unfulfilled. We're always going to feel that emptiness. We're always going to feel there's something that we need to do. So most people who know me will see me in a suit. I always bought a suit. Well, every other 3 months I'll buy a suit. So I ended up with quite a lot. So people will always see me in a suit. But that suit, everybody will be like, you are smart. Everybody used to say to me, you are smart. Okay? You are smart. But for me, that suit was a uniform of inadequacy. The suit was a uniform of inadequate because I felt inadequate. So I felt I had to do something to compete with everyone around me. And when somebody complimented me on something, then I feel, oh, well, great, and I feel good about it. Nobody says anything, I don't feel anything. I don't feel that great. Think about this. So you post a picture on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever. What are you looking for? You're looking to see how many likes you're going to get. Okay? But it's not about the likes. It's about how you are going to feel. It's not about how many likes you get. It's about how you are going to feel. Because we want to feel what? We want to feel great. We want to feel amazing. And my coaching clients, when we meet, and this it's incredible, because when we talk about this, I tell them, you don't want that. You want you want what you think that thing will make you feel. So if somebody is walking around in a nice posh car, trying to show off to their friends, because it makes them feel important. It's got nothing to do with the car. It's a feeling they get. So everybody is endeavoring to feel good about themselves. So the action that they take is really about trying to feel great about themselves. And then we live in this world of instant gratification. I want it now. If I don't have it now, I don't feel great. Because the world tells us you can have it now. People create credit, people borrow a lot of money, borrow loans just to go and buy clothes. Like who gave us that idea? So people borrow a lot of money just to get loans. So when we think about a lot of these things at the moment, when it comes to mental health, our mental hospitals at the moment, we think they just, you go there, you've gone cuckoo, you've gone mad. Okay? People think you've gone mad. Like I said at the beginning, mental health, you're there to get better mentally. You're there to feel great. You're there for somebody who's professionally trained to give you the right treatment. So the hospital that I currently work in at the moment in the National Health Service is a joint physical and mental health. And why that came about is, if we can help people get well physically, we can help them get well mentally. So you can get physical health nurses and you can get mental health nurses. And in that, you create an overall wellness. But when we look at our people, when it comes to places like Chinama has got a stigma. Chinama has got a stigma attached to it. And I remember when we were growing up, people would say things like, if you do that and they are, oh, you're going to Chinama, they will say. Or they will say you do something that's probably not clever. People will say, if you're Chinama, lekefyo. So when it comes to mental hospitals, there's that stigma attached. But we need to have a different conversation when it comes to the Ministry of Health. And it's about time we got mental health experts to start speaking out, mental health doctors to start speaking out about what they really do, what services they offer. Now, in 2012, I was at the point where I was so depressed, I was thinking of taking my own life. But when I was at university, there was a counseling service and there was a mental health hospital nearby. We're able to have these discussions with counselors and psychiatrists and being able, and I do the things that I do today because a long time ago, I was able to understand that I was not doing very well mentally and I needed the help. So what we have to make our mental health hospitals to become have to become the places where people get the help that they need. That's a place where people get the help that they need, and let them go and get that help that is desperately needed by our people. It is not the matter of we have to get away from people being embarrassed that I don't feel well mentally. We have to embrace that, and we have to tell them there's that support element that's around. It's about time we started having proper discussions. It's about time we started having discussions, whether it's in our homes. This is very important. A lot of young people, you hear stories of parents saying, you know what, I didn't even know this was happening. You didn't know it was happening because the discussion was never there. So it's about time that mental health issues, mental health discussions are put on the discussion on the table. As long as we talk about when our young people go to university and colleges and they come back, not only do we want to know how they're doing, we want to know what results they're getting, but let's try and find them. How are they feeling mentally? Let's do a mental TMO. How are you feeling in yourself? How do you feel about the course? How do you feel you're doing? Being able to have this discussion, then we're able to understand where somebody is mentally, where somebody is. How are they feeling? What is driving them? For me, I feel a lot of times we never have them. And in our culture, it's something that we never talk about. We never talk about it enough. We never have. But time has come that changes. That we start having these discussions. So for me, in my job, in my coaching, in everything that I do, I'm having a conversation about mental health on a consistent basis, and probably I'm having it a lot more than I have done over the last 2 years. Because when we think about things like the COVID pandemic, one thing I noticed in my coaching is so many people's mental health did a nosedive. Because what you had is people were restricted to what they were supposed to do. People were uncertain about education. People were uncertain about school. And instead of having that conversation about where people were, we just go, it's open, now go. Now there's Sulakavier. But we never have that in-depth conversation of how are you feeling? What do you feel about going to school? What do you really, really feel? This thing that I do with my friends, and I do this now on a consistent basis. So 2017, my wife and I went on holiday. We were in Mallorca in Spain, and a friend of mine rang me and he just said, have you heard? Our friend so-and-so has passed away. And I remember my first reaction was because I saw my friend I saw my friend 3 days before we flew out the UK. So my first reaction was, wow, that was quick. He he looked fine to me when I saw him. He was not well. It didn't look like he was not well. And my friend said to me, well, health-wise, he was fine. He paused for a bit and then he said, I don't know how to say this. I don't know how to say this. But he took his life. So our friend who we spoke to, and because we do what men do, we meet up, we talk about football, we talk about everything else, we have a laugh and we go. And our friend was literally breaking inside. And our friend had reached a point, and that day he joked. He joked a lot more than he ever had. But he had reached the point that he had enough. He completely had enough. And that night and a few nights later, he took his own life. Because he was not able to have that conversation. He was not able to reach out and say, this is what we're going to do. Or because we were saying, this is what men do, we never talk about it. It's interesting, you look at the statistics, you get more men who commit suicide than women. Why? Because us men, we never really want to talk about the emotional side. Oh no. We're going to meet up, we talk about the football. Who won the football game yesterday, last night, or whatever. We won't talk about the real touching issues that are going on. In order to really change, we need to have conversations. What do we need in our country? We need helplines. So, for example, other countries have got helplines where they say if somebody needs to, if you feel like taking your own life, what you need to do is phone this number. And that is a helpline that where people have. And I volunteer for an organization called the Samaritans, and what they used to do when I used to volunteer there, what they used to do is you phone and you speak to somebody and you just help them calm down. We were not professionally trained, but we're able to prevent a lot of people from taking their own lives. So people, we need a helpline. We need a helpline where people can say, this is where I can get that. So for the Ministry of Health, it would be very important if there would be a helpline or something that could be set up to ensure that people have got someone they can phone. They may not be able or feel like they can speak to their family about what they're feeling, or they want to speak to a total stranger, which is what I found is a lot of people would not speak to somebody they know, somebody in their household, but they will speak to a total stranger. So that's another element that we have to think about. That could be a great solution where people can get the help that they need, they can get the support that they need, they can go out and really get the support that is necessary in order to deal with it. The second element is a lot more conversation about mental health. I think over the years have been great conversations. Okay, there've been great conversations that have been had. And I remember when the conversation about HIV and AIDS with our great president David Kenneth Kaunda, he led that discussion about HIV/AIDS where people were speaking about a lot more, and at large, it's not, stigma is not as much as it could, as it was many years ago. What we need to do is to have those conversations about mental health. It's about to have those conversations about mental health, whether it's in work. One thing that we do in the workplace we do for my team that I manage, we do what we call a mental health check. How are you feeling today? What is going on? So that we make sure that people are not getting overwhelmed with work. People are not feeling like they've got too much pressure on them. So we have that discussion in everything that we do. It's important that those discussions are in there. Wherever there is people, and this is what we have to understand, wherever there is people, there are mental health issues. Wherever there's people, there are mental health issues. Yes, people doesn't mean anybody who's got mental health issues have gone mad, Malaria, Patshala. It doesn't mean that. the mental health issues that people struggle with, mental health issues of inadequacy, mental health issues of people who just think I'm not good enough, and they struggle. The people who struggle with depression for a long period of time, and it reaches a point where they can't do it anymore. And it's interesting. A friend of mine who is doing his master's in psychology, and he did this research among the African people, and what he discovers is it's not a conversation that people will have. We're not readily available to say, we're not readily able to say I feel depressed. It's almost like there's a taboo word addressed to that. We never really readily say I feel depressed. And even when we know that somebody feels depressed, that we never give them the right medication that there is. So when it comes to depression, what happens when you're depressed? So what you have in your brain is there's a chemical imbalance in your brain that takes place when you're depressed. So that chemical imbalance causes you the feeling that you feel. And that chemical imbalance can be corrected by certain medicines. That you don't have to reach a point where you think the only option I have is to have doom or to jump off the bridge. That there are solutions that can be offered to you. So you set up these groups, you set up these conversations where people can have the right treatment. So there is actually medication for treatment. Well, there is medication for depression out there. Do we talk about it? Do we even know it exists? And people have to be able to go, like I said at the beginning, if someone's got malaria, they go and get coartem. If somebody is depressed, they can go and get the medication that is on the market for them to have, for them to get better. The events that happen in our lives that might cause depression, but that doesn't mean we can't come out of those events. Some people never come out on the other side simply because they never get the help that they need. And then there's another element I would like to touch on is kindness. Now we kind of see this. We see things on social media. People post on social media. Now you got people who post things on social media because they want to feel good about themselves. They feel depressed and they truly want to feel great about themselves. And sometimes you look at it and you see some of the messages that people post. We never understand this. We never see those people. We're behind the keyboard. We type something. We never understand the impact of what we have. One of the highest profiles that happened in the UK was of a presenter called Caroline Flack. Now, Caroline Flack was presenting with one of the well-known musicians, Ollie Mays, was presenting a show called The X Factor with Simon Cowell. Some of the comments that were on there were so harsh. They were just horrible. 5 days later, the poor woman was found she had taken her life. And in all that we do, we have to understand that kindness is a very, very important element in what we do. Kindness is the most important element in everything that we are going to do. So when we go on social media, one thing that we have to know is I got to be kind. I have to be kind in what I do. I have to be kind in the way I speak to people. I have to be constantly kind. That we just don't go on social media and post everything. We never know the impact our words have. My friends, words have got power. Words have got power to build. Words have got power to destroy. So what we have to look at is what sort of words do I use when I'm on social media? What sort of impact will it have on somebody else if I say these words? What would be their mental state when they see that? Because I can tell you there are people who are living on social media trying to just feel good about themselves. Like I said at the beginning, why do people post pictures on Facebook all the time? Why do they want the likes? Because when they get those likes, they want to feel good about themselves. What happens when somebody posts a negative comment? So I spoke at the beginning about people being able to use the internet wisely, but also we got a responsibility. We got a responsibility for a fellow human being of what we post. We can say, you know what, I don't know that person. I don't know what person is going through. Here's the thing, you're never going to know what that person is going through. It might look like this person is just a person I don't know. But the fact that you don't know that person should tell you that you probably do not know what they're going through. There's so many reports and there's so many. And for me, my concern is we're not having these discussions enough. So really my advice for you this evening is have this discussion. And I talk about, every time I come on Thursday, I talk about focusing on the things that you want. And it's important that we're focusing on those things. It's important we're focusing on the things that we truly want, the things that are truly us, the things that we truly desire to transform our lives. In doing so, our lives are really, really going to change. Our lives are going to be transformed for the better. And as I feel in everything that we do, always do our mental checkup. How am I feeling? How am I feeling? How am I feeling today? There's something that I always used to love listening to. It's called the Father's Love Letter. It's called the Father's Love Letter. It's a few minutes. But this moment, let's just take that moment to just reflect on those things, to reflect on our mental well-being. Am I doing things that are taking me away from feeling good? Am I focusing too much on social media? Am I focusing too much on the world? Listen, our brain can only take about certain things at the same time. So it's important that we are focusing on those things that really matter to us as human beings. And I absolutely love this. And for me, it just used to settle me down. It's called The Father's Love Letter. You could win all sorts of great prizes on Virgin Games. One moment. Dear friends, so this was a different sort of our Thursday night motivation. It's all about let's get talking. Let's get talking about mental health. We cannot ignore it any longer. Too many young people are losing their lives every day. It's about time we took away the stigma of what Chinama is all about. It's about time we start having those conversations. It's about time we stop staring at our mobile phones all the time, but we focus on the people around us. Too many of our young people are suffering. We've got so many mental health trained specialists in our country. Let us use them. Let us get the young people who need the help to get that help. Let us send the message out there to say it's not weakness to say I feel depressed. It's not weakness to say I feel like I would take my own life. It's not weakness to say I don't feel so great. It's not weakness to say I feel inadequate. It's not weakness to feel I feel so low today. But it's something that can be handled. It's something that we can have. Let us create a space for young people to develop, to grow themselves, to get to know themselves. In this world where authenticity has been replaced by the life of social media, of how perfect your life of social media is, instead of how your life could be in reality. That we tell our young people that it's okay. It's okay to be different. We tell our young people in the 20s when they see somebody in their 20s walking around with thousands and thousands of kwachas and they haven't got enough money, that we tell them that it's okay to be on a different path. It's okay. Some people get rich at 20, but some people still get rich at 60. Some people get rich at 20 and die at 40. Some people get rich at 60 and live until they're 100. It's okay. But we tell them that it's okay to walk your own path. And we embrace that and we support that. And for parents who've got young people who, for one reason or another, don't do well in the exam, we tell them, we hold them and we tell them it's okay. We don't look and say, do you see what John or Mary did? We say, we hold them, we tell them, you put the effort in, it's okay, it's your own journey. In all that we do, we protect the mental health of our young people. That's the most important thing. And I hope today I wanted to get this conversation started. And I hope we can take it from here and we start the conversation for the people at the Ministry of Health, that this is an opportunity that you can start having this conversation. How can we start treating mental health like we treat malaria? Let's have it. Let's have the discussion. We're reaching a point where it's becoming a crisis. It's about time we start doing something about it. Let us look after our young people. Let us serve our children. Once if we to do something about it, let's not leave it too late. It's already a crisis. Let us do something to help our children. God bless you. God bless your dream. And God bless our country. Good night from me. Bye-bye.